guys, Abby here from Ballerinas by Night. We have had a lot of questions recently about how to remember combinations, and I've written a couple of emails about it. I think we did a blog about it, but I wanted to do a video to try and make it more clear. This is one of those things that sometimes when I see people responding on message boards, you get a little bit of tension because people feel different things in different ways about it, and they believe different things about it. I always struggled remembering combinations, and I am the type of learner that I need several different ways of going about something to get it to a point where I can come to grasp with it, and especially to then execute it properly. So for example, when I was in school, if I was doing a lecture style class, I would have to listen to the lecture right as I was listening, go home, read my notes, rewrite my notes, and if I did all my steps, I could almost always ace in class. But if I didn't have time to do all my steps, I would be missing huge gaps. The first thing that I always tell people when they're trying to remember combinations when they struggle is mark, mark, mark. Because I feel like no matter what kind of learner you are, whether you're better with the movement, whether you're better with the talking, whether you're better, if you've written something, which of course like you usually can't do in ballet class, I find that just getting the combination in your body as much as possible is almost always helpful. And I say that the more you struggle, the more I think you need to try and mark as full out as possible, as many times as possible. So rule number 1, mark, which leads us to rule number 2, which is if there are groups, go in the last group. Watch, listen to the music, mark. And marking can be like this. I say mark full out, and I believe that for some people, marking full out is almost essential, but it could also be the hand thing. We've all done the hand marking. And it depends, how the class is. Like if there's not room for you to be almost like full marking in the back, then you're gonna have to kind of do the hands or something smaller so that you can get it into your body, but also, be respectful of people around you, that you're not just like either distracting the group that's going or flailing into the people also waiting. It depends on the environment. Rule number 3, how we approach a combination and how we internalize it makes a big difference. I always say it's kind of like if you have the number 3, 3, 5, 3, 4, 8, 1, 9, it's gonna be easier to remember 33, 53, I can't remember what numbers I just said, 43, 19, or whatever it is, rather than 3, 3, 4, 3. And so we have to kind of figure out ways to make steps become clusters and not one long string of things. I have one of the most supportive husbands of all time. He started ballet classes after we started dating, so he's taken a lot of ballet classes. He can't really do it anymore because of a calf injury he had, but he'll come and watch me. And the one thing he always says is these teachers spout out these long strings of combinations. I remember the first ever class he came and watched. He was just like this huge long combination, and then you just go out there and do it. He was like, it's like they lost me after the first term. So I'm going to go through a combination with you that I feel like has a little bit of, it's not a super hard combination, it's mostly intermediate, but it has a little bit of tricky stuff in it so that we can work on how we might internalize it and remember it better. All right, so this is a petit allegro combination. So it'd probably be done in like lines coming down the room. You go right and left and the next line would go. So it's going to start left foot in front so that we can travel to the right. And we're gonna have tombe, pas de bourrée, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, six son, entre-quatre. We would start other way. Right foot in front, tombe, pas de bourrée, glissade, assemblée, six son, entre-quatre. You're gonna have to move for me, go on. All right, so I'm gonna face the back and show you this way. So for the right, I'm just marking right now, I'm not going full out. This is kind of what I would do if I were teaching. So this leg's kind of sneaking out. And tombe, pas de bourrée, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée. To the front foot, sisson, entre-quatre. So beat, front, back. Left, we'd be releasing the left foot from behind. Tombe, pas de bourrée, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, sisson, entre-quatre. This is not anywhere near as long a combination as sometimes you will encounter in class, but the first thing I would do would be to separate this into 4 sections, and for this combination they would be 2 counts each. So 2 counts, 2 counts, 2 counts, 2 counts. So our first 2 counts is our tombe, pas de bourrée. Tombe, pas de bourrée. So that's 1, 2 right there, and that's our first quadrant, 1 of 4. Second quarter is glissade, assemblée, another 2 counts. So this part was 1 and a 2. 1 and a 2. Second section, the counts are 3 and a 4. Third section, another glissade, assemblée. 5, 6, sisson to the front foot, sisson, entre-quatre. So that's quadrant number 4. So quadrant number 1, tombe, pas de bourrée. Quadrant number 2, glissade, assemblée. Quadrant number 3, glissade, assemblée. Quadrant number 4, sisson, entre-quatre. We're thinking of all these 4 sections as separate things. Now I want to try and go one step further. And you have 2 options, depending on what works better for you. One is to think about the entire 4 counts as one thing. So we would have tombe, pas de bourrée, glissade, assemblée. Now the only problem with this is that you immediately have to change your direction, and a change of direction is one of those things in petit allegro that can throw us off. So as long as you can go 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and know I have to be ready, I have to be landing more on my front leg so that I can be releasing my back leg to go, I'm anticipating that, then that's fine. But another way to approach this would be that you keep your tombe, pas de bourrée as a separate item. Separate entity is its own thing, it starts the combination. But then you would think quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, which is glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée. Now my mind goes to putting those 2 things together because they are the same. So I know that I have 2 things that are the same in the middle. I have the number 33, not a 3 and a 3. Make sense? So if we put all that together, we have our first thing that's kind of off on its own, 1 and a 2. Now I have 2 times glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée. Okay, now I have my 2 things together. What is my last thing that's different? I know I have to anticipate I'm going towards my front foot again. So on our first glissade, assemblée, we were traveling to the next direction. Now we're traveling the same direction, sisson, entre-quatre, straight up and down. But then we would have to be ready if we were in a big studio to continue in the same direction. So this brings, all right, so let's stick with our quadrants. In this way of thinking, we would have, instead of having 4 separate quadrants, I'm going to break it down into a trio. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. So it's really just 3 things I have to remember. Tombe, pas de bourrée. Glissade, assemblée. Glissade, assemblée. Sisson, and quatre. Does that make a little bit more sense, or is that 10 times more confusing? So, like I say, I like to find the things that are the same. So in this case, glissade, assemblée. It might work better for you to think of it as 2 different things. tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, entrechacatra. That works too. And the thing about that is you have most of your energy traveling this way, and then most of your energy traveling this way, so you can put the steps together in the way that they're traveling and into just two pieces, if you can remember each piece in its entirety. So doing that, we have tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, quatre. And then we would just go to the left. Left would be tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, quatre. Now, the next way of remembering, which also I feel like is one of the things that sets me apart as both a teacher and a dancer, because I didn't understand musicality for a really long time. So I do almost everything in my mind also through the counts. And like I say, for how I work, I have to process things multiple ways. So this is another way for me to process it that then also helps me be more musical. And sometimes I might remember the steps like we just did. I might get to that process, and then I still need to go in a later group so I can process the counts. And this is why ballet is so difficult and why these combinations are so hard to remember, because not only do we have to know the steps and be familiar with the vocabulary, and then you have to put them together, and then you have to put them together correctly to the music. Yeah? So count-wise, and this is very much how I teach. I almost always teach like this. We would have 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7, 8 from the back. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to put some music on, and we're going to try and mark this. 7, 8. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left. Tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, and a quatre. You should be able to say it as well. Tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, quatre. Tombe, pas de bras, glissade, assemblée, glissade, assemblée, si, son, quatre. One more time with counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Different people have different ideas on the best way to learn combinations. These are some of the tips and pointers that worked for me, and I really struggle with remembering combinations. So I hope this helps you. Do something with the bell, subscribe, leave us some comments below, let us know if you like this. If you have tips for this, put them below, open up the discussion. We are trying to be a community where we are all contributing, so that's great. Help us help other people. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, our blog, and that's all for today. Thank you, bye.